You're listening to the Pesky Report, a podcast dedicated to the Boston Red Sox by Red Sox fans. The Pesky Report is happy to announce that we will be sponsored by High and Happy Catering out of Springfield, Massachusetts. High and Happy Catering creates gourmet meals for small or large events with a twist. All of their meals are cannabis infused. If you are looking to have a real happy meal, call them at 413-785-8999 or search for them on Instagram at High and Happy Catering. You'll be happy you did. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Belly Up Sports Network. My name is Brad Chandler. This is episode number 99. With me today, I've got my co-hosts as usual, Hogdale and Brady. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
I'm doing really good.
I'm ecstatic. Very excited here today for our special guest.
Why? What? You want to introduce him?
He's got a great first name. I'm going to just write off Little King. Yep, it's there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ryan Lavarnway here with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. What's going on?
Living the dream. Go ahead, Hogdale. I know you want to say it.
No, yeah, it's just like, I swear to God, every time you say living the dream, it's like the white woman way of saying I'm dead inside. And it's just how you like starting the pod. And it's just... just fantastic.
It is a fantastic start. Hey, so I want to thank you for not only coming on but responding. Getting people to respond is like the hardest thing in the world.
I mean, why not, right? This is fun. Let's have some fun.
You get somebody, they look at it and they're just like, no, we're not going to respond. But Brady was pretty excited as soon as you said, yeah, let's do this. And I got to admit, man, I was pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. And we got some questions for you, man. Hopefully we don't say the wrong things.
No. We're going to go right into we're talking
hot
baseball.
stove on a February afternoon.
Oh, yeah, a lot of hot topics here during the lockout where we're all bored out of our minds. Let's go.
Well, for Ryan, this is not even on my list of questions, but when do you think opening day? What's your gut?
My gut is that we'll be on time. It's not good for business. It's not good for business to not have baseball. And I think the reason it's taking so long at this point is because nobody does their homework until the night before it's due.
Is it too late to make you the president of the Players Association?
Yes. But next time.
I do.
Maybe.
Yep.
I don't get a vote, unfortunately, but I like your attitude. I do.
Yeah.
So you would agree locking them in a room together and saying, you just can't leave. We'll feed you, right? But you can't leave until an agreement is worked out. Fair?
Well, food can also be a really good motivator.
That's true.
Or lack of food.
Very true.
That's an excellent point.
I feel like if that happened, though, one of like the owners who are, near the end of the run in terms of life speaking might have a heart attack from the stress.
My family, we just went on vacation for a week together. My wife's family, it's also my family now. And they were giving me grief because they say that it's the 2-year-old, my nephew, and me are the two that get the grumpiest the fastest when we don't have enough food. So I can relate to that being a strong motivator for them to get a deal done.
I love it.
All right. So I actually have a question that has nothing to do with Red Sox and doesn't have anything to do with you, unfortunately. Yeah. We were talking about this. ESPN just put out a top 50
and they got up to number 26.
Hmm.
And they have, where is it? They have, where is he? Derek Jeter at number 28. And they have Mariano Rivera at 31. Sandy Koufax at 32. They have Pete Rose at 34. Josh Gibson at 35. Do you think that Derek Jeter is better than all those guys?
Whoa,
Jackie Robinson at 38.
You didn't tell me what the top 50 is. What's the category?
Just best
just
players
they just
ever.
best all time is how they're ranking them.
Best
Nolan
baseball
Ryan.
player?
Yeah, they put
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan way far behind Derek Jeter.
Like
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Nolan
Ryan's
Ryan.
40.
Ichiro was 46. Wade Boggs is 45. Tony Gwynn's 44.
Tony Gwynn.
Nolan Ryan is number 42. But Derek Jeter is number 20, 28, 29.
I mean, you got to know your audience here. Also, we're talking on a Red Sox podcast with Red Sox fans. We're not ranking the Yankees ahead of Wade Boggs, who was a Red Sox also. But
He was a traitor too.
Just a little. But
can I tell you a funny Wade Boggs story?
Please.
Oh, of course.
Please
All
do.
right, so I'm in spring training with the Red Sox. I think it was the first year that the new spring training facility was open at JetBlue Park down there. I had gotten down there early. This was when I was, still a prospect, still a puppy. And they were like, get here early, work on your catching. You're going to be our guy, right? So I got down there. Gary Tuck was the catching coach. He was supposed to meet me down there on like January 18th. Well, I got down there January 18th, and about January 23rd, I didn't see Gary Tuck yet. And I guess he didn't agree with the owners or whatever. So he never ended up coming. I'm down there by myself working out. And Wade Boggs comes to do a fantasy camp with fans before the spring training facility opened. The Snowbirds from Boston come down. We're in the locker room, and we're in the home locker room at JetBlue Park, brand new facility. I had never met him before. He's wearing a Yankees World Series ring.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, man, why don't you wear one of your Red Sox World Series rings?
Oh.
Bonehead, I had a Red Sox World Series ring, or we won one that year, maybe, whatever. We had the Red Sox had won 2 in the last 10 years. So I didn't think about the 100 years that the team went without doing it.
That's
So he points up to the Bill Buckner year flag hanging, the American League Championship. He goes, that's my Red Sox World Series ring right there. And I wanted to crawl out of the room.
Oh, my God.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing for you.
Oh, the pain.
I'm laughing at you.
Because in my head, I'm like, Red Sox win the World Series all the time. Why don't you wear one of those?
Good
Boy.
point.
I guess it's a good thing to think now as a Red Sox fans, right? Like they've won so many recently and they're so spoiled that we can forget about the 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it never happened. It's like, it's a void. We don't
sorry,
we don't
but
talk about that.
86 years just doesn't disappear.
No.
Oh, well.
It does if you repress it enough there, Brad.
Wade was cool about it. He was cool.
I couldn't imagine him being a deck or anything like that.
No,
He
he
seems
was
like a
he
good
signed
dude.
He signed a photo for me.
Hey, what a guy.
Did he
That's
sign
great.
it with a New York Yankees logo on it?
No.
86
fucked
world
up.
champs, Wade Boggs. That would have been pretty good.
That'd be classic.
All right, Brady, you got some questions?
Ryan, I'm dying to know, when you were a kid, how obvious was it that you were that much better than everyone else that you played with?
It wasn't at all. I actually just got finished writing a children's book that I'm submitting to publishers. So maybe that'll get published one day. You could see it. I grew up in Southern California where everyone I played against made it to the big leagues also. I was definitely not the fastest. I know you guys know that. But I was also a late bloomer, so I wasn't the biggest or the strongest either. At that point, I was the underdog. I was the overperformer and the hardest worker. Even when I got to high school, I didn't make the varsity till my junior year. And even then I got benched for half of the year. So I really only started on the varsity for 1 year. And,
Wow.
by my senior season, I went off and everybody was like, oh, where did this guy come from? And I'm like, I've been here the whole time. But, yeah, nobody I wasn't a prospect in high school. I wasn't going to get drafted. I went to a academic school because I had great grades and a high SAT score. And then I learned how to hit. And when everybody's like, well, why did you go to Yale if you wanted to play pro baseball? there's only, you're the third major leaguer to ever come out of Yale University. And I'm like, because Yale was my best baseball choice.
That's a great life choice too. I mean,
Yeah, well,
How'd you enjoy living in Connecticut?
you know what? I had an absolute blast. I'm the type of person that makes the best out of any situation anyway. So I would have probably enjoyed anywhere I went. But the people at Yale and just being surrounded by people that are super motivated, it makes you better. And I feel like I learned just as much in the dining hall, in the gym, having conversations with my teammates and classmates as I did in the classroom.
Did you do anything else in New Haven?
Oh, well, I ate all the food, obviously. I'm a big foodie. Me and my best friend, Chris, from the team, every Wednesday, we would meet at the gym and walk down to Louis' Lunch. If you know, that's where the hamburger sandwich was invented. So that was pretty cool. And I was definitely into all the intramural sports. Basketball, volleyball, co-ed, inner tube, water polo. I even got kicked out of one of those intramural water polo games.
What'd you do?
Yeah, well, so you were allowed to flip the opponent off of their inner tube, but you weren't supposed to hold the inner tube over them so that you could get the ball. I'm so competitive, like.
Listen, like, as long as it's in, the attempt of winning, I'm okay with drowning the competition. Listen,
yeah, nobody died. Nobody died. Don't get dramatic.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's awesome.
I gotta see you play checkers.
Imagine him coming on and being like, "Yeah, I killed a guy playing water polo."
Yeah, this is my confession. They're going to use it against me in the court of law.
Oh yes.
So, did you? Were you always focused on being a catcher?
No, again. So in high school, in order to make the varsity team, there was a kid in my grade, Sammy Donabedian, who, as you can tell from his last name, hit puberty 12 years before I did, and had a full beard as an 8th grader. So when we're going into high school, and you know what, they retired my number at the high school a couple of years ago. It was really nice. I was the third player for them to do that for. It was Randy Wolf and Connor Jackson before me. Nice. But when I went back for the ceremony at the alumni game, my old coach was like, and don't try to tell me that you should have played ahead of Sammy Donabedian back when you were in high school. And I'm like, you were right. That dude was so much better than me at the time. So I went out and played left field in order to make the varsity team because I could swing it. They wanted to get my bat in the lineup. And I still remember my coach asking me, like, how do you track a fly ball for that long? Because you're so slow.
What's Sammy doing now?
Sammy, I just saw is a lawyer.
Oh, all right.
With a name like that, I can.
He goes by Sam now.
Can he hit a curveball?
He could have. This dude was legit in high school.
All right.
So when did you know that you wanted to go pro?
Well, I always wanted to. I always intended to. I always planned to make it to the big leagues, but the picture didn't become clear until probably my sophomore year of college when I led the country in batting average. Yeah, that was a pretty clear indication. But you know what? I just got my draft video from my scout that drafted me, Ray Fagnan. He sent it to me. There was a game he had on video against Cornell that I was catching, and I hit a walk-off homer. I was just watching it this afternoon, and I'm like, Ray, I get it with the bat while you drafted me, but bro, with the catching, that's tough to watch. I mean, if you guys, I think you guys can tell I'm a pretty humble guy. I can laugh at myself. You don't take yourself too seriously. I had a long way to go with the glove when I got drafted.
That's pretty common, right? For a lot of catchers that comes with time.
Yeah, I think so. And I think even these days they're drafting a lot of middle infielders and converting them to catcher, people with athleticism and hands, and they make them into a catcher.
The night you got drafted, where were you? What was that like?
It was daytime. I was in LA. I was at my parents' house. I had surgery on my wrist 2 weeks before, where I was, again, because of the hitting in college, I was looking at getting drafted in the 2nd or maybe the 3rd round. I broke my wrist. 26 out of the 28 teams I was talking to said, okay, we'll see you next year. But I felt like I had nothing left to prove in college baseball. I was ready. So I dropped in the fifth round. I thought the Brewers might take me, and then I ended up getting drafted in the 6th round. And when I got the call, I was in my dad's home office with the door closed, kind of watching the draft feed by myself. And I just kind of walked outside and took it in. And I think I probably cried happy tears a little bit. Just kind of had some time to myself.
That's so do you think the Reds, like when you were drafted by the Sox at the time, were you like that's a good fit, like organizationally? How did you feel about that team selecting you?
I had no idea. I didn't know the difference between, if you get drafted on a team that Jason Varitek is the anchor of, you're probably going to have to wait till he decides to do something else. I didn't even put that together in my head. I did when I got to AAA and hit 10 homers in a week. I was like, oh, well, who am I going to play for? Jason Varitek or David Ortiz? Like, yeah. I'm not.
It's rough.
But when I got drafted, I still had so much to learn that I didn't even know about. The thing that was pretty cool was the next day when I had to call in for something, maybe insurance documents or travel or whatever it was. And the secretary, whoever answered the phone, said, World Series champion Boston Red Sox, how can I help you? I was like, oh crap, they won last year. And that's when it was like, oh, this is huge. This is awesome.
That's great.
That checks out.
That's such a flex, like as an organization, like the secretary answering the phone, like, oh yeah, World Series champs here. What's going on?
How long can you keep that for? Like how many years post championship?
1 year.
That okay?
Reigning. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. All
That
right.
checks out.
Yeah. What were some of the stops you had along the way in the minor leagues? Where'd you play?
I hit every stop. I had Lowell that first year. Crazy place to have your first professional experience. They put me in a dorm room at the college. Middlebrooks was my first roommate. That was pretty cool. Next year I was in Greenville for the whole year. I think I set the homers record and tied the doubles record.
Pretty good.
Which single A records are dubious because nobody wants to be there long enough to break those records, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
But I also had a conversation again, and my glove still had a long way to go at that point. So I needed to be there to get the reps and put my extra work in. The next year I was in Salem, Virginia for half the year till the All-Star break. How about this high A All-Star game? I started the All-Star game. Salvador Perez came in back up the game.
Huh.
Pretty cool.
He was your backup?
That's cool as hell.
I know. And Julio Teheran started that game.
Oh yeah.
For us. Pretty cool. The next year, so then I went up to Portland AA. I see the hat that you're wearing there, Brad. Lived with the host family, the Brenners, great people, still in touch with them. Went back with them the next year. That's when my wife and I started living together, was in the Brenners' basement up in Portland. And then up to Pawtucket the next year, where Josh Reddick took me in as a roommate.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of a fun story too. And then up and down to the big leagues for 11 years since then.
So like all these, different minor league teams have like crazy events and stuff like that. What's one of the ones that you come to your mind that like where you're like I remember the story of, I think it was Darnell McDonald racing a horse or something like that. So like, what's one that stands out to you that just like that was weird?
I don't know if it was weird. The Portland, they do the Field of Dreams game at the end of the season,
mm-hmm.
where you walk through the wheatgrass or whatever in center field, and they're like, look like you're lost, like you just time traveled. So we're walking out, we're like looking around like we're crazy. What I remember about that game was it was the last day of the season that year. Luis Exposito was supposed to catch, and I was supposed to be done for the year. I wasn't supposed to play. But Luis thought it would be hilarious to run in from the bullpen and slide into home on a full sprint before the game to take the field. And based on all of your faces right now, you can already tell that he hurt himself before the game started. So now I'm totally checked out. I mailed it in. I'm at home in my mind already, and I get inserted into this Field of Dreams throwback game.
Can you think of another time that you saw a player get hurt before a game started where he injured himself?
Probably, if I thought about it.
It's like JD Martinez did that this year, jogging out to the outfield, slipped on second base.
Wasn't that during like in between the innings?
Yeah.
I think that was in between innings.
Or like across sports, like remember like when like Blake Griffin hit that chair and broke his arm because like the chair like snapped in and closed on him. Like that's just got to be like
That
the
would happen
roughest
to
way to
him.
injure yourself. Or Devin Williams this year, he punched a wall and broke his hand. Broke his hand. Like, that's rough.
I got to ask you, man. So you got to call up in probably now. I've been a Sox fan since forever. I mean, I've been 86. I was there as a little kid watching it all along. My grandfather, my father to me, right now my son. But you came up in one of the craziest seasons ever, 2011. Right, things were cooking with gas in August. Everything was going great. Veritek gets hurt, right? And if I'm wrong, let me know. But Veritek gets hurt. Saltamat gets a little banged up, and you get a September call up. And you get a call up at a time where the ship starts to go the wrong way, where the Sox, so you get called up when the team's going in the wrong direction, but you come up and you rake from the second you get up there. So what's that like to be a part when things are going so well for you personally, but the team and the guys around you, it's just not?
Yeah, that was an interesting year, and I have a lot of, conflicting memories of that time. Dream come true, obviously, but then being in Boston and losing in Boston is not fun. It's not fun. You're either winning and you're a god, or you're losing and you're the scum of the earth.
Unbelievably true.
And there's no middle ground, and that's what makes Boston such a great sports town, because people care.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's how it should be. People care, and I respect the passion and I appreciate the passion, and I'll always have a special place in my heart for Red Sox fans. I don't even remember your question. It was a great time for me. I wish we would have won. How about that?
Yeah. Who is in your debut? Who did you catch?
John Lester.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty cool debut.
That
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Who was the starter for the other team?
Oh boy, Drake Britton.
There you go.
First big league homer. Drake Britton as a starter.
Look at that.
And I, you know why I remember that is because I have a baseball card of me home run trotting, and his head's down in the background.
All right.
That's awesome.
I want to ask the next one. Was the fried chicken and beer thing overblown?
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Did you have any fried chicken?
No. I have my own theories on what turned that year around, but I don't know that needs to be public.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
enough. It'll be in the upcoming Ryan Lavarnway autobiography.
We'll see.
Hitting store
It's definitely
shelves.
not. It's definitely not in my children's book. It's
I do have to ask you this one. If memory serves, Papelbon, the last weekend there, it's versus Baltimore, and you guys are really reeling, and to the point where my wife, who could care less about baseball, but doesn't like to hear me be like, oh, you know what I mean? That she was like, what's wrong with that? Just win. You know what I mean? Like it was, I mean, she's right, but she's always right, but so Papelbon on Saturday night blows the save. You guys lose on a Saturday. And then on the last game of the regular season, you're leading, right? You have the lead into the ninth inning, and Papelbon comes again for the save, and get a little bit of trouble. And there's a shot to left field, and Carl Crawford comes in for the catch. And I assume that you were still behind the dish there when that was happening. So you probably had one of the best views of anyone. Off the bat, did you think Carl Crawford was catching that ball?
No. Off the bat, I thought he was going to play it on a hop and throw him out of home.
That would have been awesome.
I mean, this was a long, long time ago at this point. I remember off the bat thinking he was going to play it on a hop.
How was the clubhouse? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't good, but what was it like walking into the clubhouse after that?
After this, we can start talking about something way more positive again. But in order to respect you and answer your question, we walked in before Evan Longoria had hit his homer. So we walked into the clubhouse still hopeful for a playoff that they were going to also lose, because the Yankees had been winning when our rain delay happened.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We got in, already a little heartbroken. Evan Longoria hits that home run, which for the Tampa franchise was amazing, but for us it was a dagger, obviously.
Yeah, that sucked.
So it was kind of a double
I
hit.
remember that one.
But let's talk about how amazing of a coach Terry Francona is.
I
That-
actually
yeah.
wanted to ask, like, how is
Yes.
it? How cool is it that you went from Francona as your first coach in the majors, and then last year you were? Did he coach all of last year?
He
took
was
some
there,
time
and then
off.
he had some health stuff, so he was kind of in and out. But being in spring training with him again, he was there when I got called up this year. He makes you know how much he cares about you, and as a leader, and to see that reflected, I'm a role player. I'm the 25th man on a roster. I'm not Derek Jeter. I'm not Jason Varitek, and I've come to terms with that. But Terry Francona makes sure that you know that he still cares about you, and that goes a long way.
I wanted to. So I told you before that we have a member of our podcast who, you're his favorite player. So he wasn't able to come on today because he had to work, and his boss wouldn't let him out early, which I would have just called out. Honestly, I would have been like,
Tell him
screw it.
next time I'll call his boss and see if that works.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
Ed,
right.
you heard Ryan Lavarnway say he'll call your boss and call out for you. But he did send me a question. He said if someone could ask him about Daniel Bard, he caught him in 2011, and the relationship between catchers and pitchers, especially when pitchers are struggling, that would be really amazing. So, straight from Ed, how is it like when a pitcher has it going on? I hate my computer sometimes. I swear to God, it's a struggle. It's like it's real life struggle. But like when a pitcher's like on, how is it? And like when they're struggling, like what do you have to do to motivate them to get better?
Yeah, so there's nothing better than when a pitcher is on and when you're on the same page also. I almost don't have to put fingers down. We both know what's coming. We're both on the same page. And it's like playing chess when the batter's trying to play checkers. There's nothing better. It's the best. That to me is better than hitting a walk-off home run, is just grooving through innings. And it's like 1, 2, 3, go sit down. We're going to hit again. 1, 2, 3, go sit down. We're going to go hit again. As far as when they're struggling, everybody's a little bit different. Everybody needs something. And as a catcher, I have to learn them, who they are as people. I have to earn their trust, or else I could go out there and say the perfect thing and it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Right.
Daniel Bard, first of all, shout out to Daniel Bard. He went from the best in the game, the best eighth inning guy in the game,
Right.
to not knowing where the ball was going. And you cannot imagine a guy falling that far and being a better teammate and a better guy to be around as it was happening. There was never a woe is me. There was never throwing stuff in the locker room, spreading negativity, never once. And I think that speaks to his character more than anything, because I think I would have been a total wreck if that happened.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up falling off a little bit.
Well, he ended up bouncing around. He bounced around to a bunch of teams, got some deals, and there was times I think he was pitching in the Gulf Coast League where he'd throw 4 pitches and hit 4 batters, and that would be the whole outing. For years, this was a problem. And then when he figured it out, he became a mental skills coach and was playing catch, and the players were like, "Dude, you could still pitch." And now he's back in the big leagues. And I've never been happier for another guy than I am for Daniel Bard.
I swear, when I was actually getting ready because I started blogging for a little bit right before COVID started, and I was like, whatever happened to Daniel Bard is something I was gonna write, and I kept thinking about like how I would attack that, and then I want to say it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, there was news that he was coming back and he had a contract with the Rockies, and I was just like, no way. I was just thinking this. Like, imagine if this guy, and then he had like the best comeback.
Yeah.
You never hear anything negative about the guy. Like anything.
Never been happier for a guy. But to answer, long story, long way to get there, land the plane. What did he need when he was going bad? He was searching for himself what he thought he needed. And I remember there was one time. Am I allowed to curse on this show?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were afraid to curse.
We're like,
So I remember, I'll never forget this. Daniel was we were talking about it, either after a game or before a game, and he's like, back when I was really good, I used to come into the game and I'd run in from the bullpen, and Tech would be there waiting for me with the ball, and he'd put the ball in my glove, and then he'd punch me in the chest, kind of hard, and he'd say, "Let's go, bitch."
Yep.
And he's like, I need you to do that, and I need you to punch me hard enough that it gets my attention. So we tried it. And I felt ridiculous because that might have been Tech's persona, but that's not me. I'm like, "Let's go, bitch," and I punch him, and then it would go good or it would go bad or whatever. But yeah, what does the guy need when he's not going right? That's a constant search.
Now that started right. They tried to make him into a starting pitcher, and did it present itself prior to the move to a starting pitcher, the control issues?
So that happened for him in 2012. 2011 was my first call up. I didn't catch a lot in 2011. I noticed that he had some cutter spin on his fastball. I don't know how normal that was. I think you'd have to ask him when it really started or when he noticed it.
Did you ever catch a knuckleballer?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. Well, so I never caught Wakefield in the game. I caught him in the pen a bunch, but this is a fun trivia fact. Maybe it's not even too small to be trivia even. I caught the final 3 outs of Wakefield's 200th win.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. But it was Tozawa was pitching at the time, but it was the final 3 outs of Wakefield's 200th win. Anyway, I actually tied the major league record for most pass balls in one inning, catching Stephen Wright. Right, I'm in the books.
Yep. That's you, record holder.
Yeah, I was number 5 on the not top 10 that Friday.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah,
and that's when people actually gave a shit about the not top 10 too.
Ryan Lavarnway can take a joke, brother. We'll be all right.
Dude, I've seen a lot of your debuts. Like like with the Reds, like your debuts with the Sox, you've gone off in the debuts. Like, how are you able to keep, I got to assume that each time there's a new opportunity, that's got to be like really exhilarating. How do you keep yourself like calm?
Oh man, that Reds debut, I'll tell you what. So I was with the Yankees in AAA. I was with the Yankees. I got released the day before from AAA. Talk about falling upwards, right? I got released from AAA. I was in the big leagues the next day. And at the time I was binge watching that TV show, The Good Place. You guys seen that?
Oh, yeah.
We might be able to curse on this show, but on that show they don't because they're supposed to be in heaven. And I don't know if you watch it or not, but that whole game that I was, setting the Reds franchise debut record, whatever, in my head I'm replaying this line from the show, "Holy mother forking shirt balls."
Oh my! They really say that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta watch this.
I didn't love the way that show ended, but it was good until the end.
But when you're raking like that,
yeah,
you in a game, you you feel it, and like you're comfortable. Like do you verbalize it to your teammates and say like, "I got it tonight, boys"?
No, I didn't feel good for that game. I mean, looking back, it was probably the best game of my career. But going into it, I got released for a reason. Like I was hitting like poop. So at that point I was trying to minimize, just put the bat on the ball, and Wainwright just threw it right in the right place for me.
No, Wainwright too. That's
it's a classy move.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
He's like 80 million years old and still great. It's kind of crazy.
That's not that old.
No, not.
He's 80 million years old.
No,
minus a few years.
Big Papi just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. You
got any stories?
You got a Big Papi story?
Do I have? I mean, how many Big Papi stories do you want?
Whatever you're willing to share.
The one that comes to mind that I haven't told on another show yet. This is a first on air. He came up. There was a new rookie pitching against us. I don't remember who we were playing. We were in Boston. So we were in the home dugout on the first base side. And David, I don't know if you guys remember noticing this or not. He does not sit in the dugout ever.
Nope.
unless he's leading off the next inning. He's in the clubhouse. He's on his phone. He's reading magazines. He's doing whatever David does, and David could do whatever he wants. But he was leading off the next inning, and this is how smart of a hitter David was. He went inside, never faced the pitcher before. The pitcher had thrown maybe 3 games in the big leagues. He goes inside. He watches some video on the guy. He goes, all right, he's going to throw me 2 breaking balls to start off. He's going to get ahead 0-2. Then he's going to bury one. I'm not going to chase it. He's going to try to put the fastball up. I'm going to take that. And then on the 2-2 count, he's going to flip one more, and I'm going to put it over the monster oppo. And wouldn't you know, pitch for pitch, that's exactly what happened.
Man.
Dude
That's
was
so
not
sick.
just physically talented. He was so smart. He was such a smart and talented hitter. The combination was lethal.
That's like
That's
next level calling your shot. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. What was it like teaming with Veritek?
Veritek, I mean, the man's a legend, and he is the consummate leader and someone that early in my career I wanted to be so much like him that I literally tried to emulate him in ways that weren't authentic to myself, but that I wanted to be him so bad that I had to almost unlearn. I had to unlearn and stop trying to be Jason Veritek to become the own best version of myself. But he's such the example of everything that I wanted to be, and I have so much respect for him.
I got a tech story. So I try to go to the appreciation, the crowd appreciation games, and I want to say it had to have been 2019. So I'm down on the field. I'm taking pictures. Like I met Steve Pierce, I met Alex Cora, and then like Tech comes over. Stupid fucking computers.
That's rip.
Meeting Cora was cool as hell. Meeting Steve Pierce was cool as hell. Meeting all the players cool as hell. Tech comes over. I'm taking a picture with him. I'm shaking. Because I grew up loving Tech. Like he was like one of my favorite players, you know? So I'm like, he goes, calm down. I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, do you want me to take the picture for you? I'm like, nah, I got it. And then like, I just took the picture and I was like, thank you. Like my puberty just hit.
Is it one of the live photos where if you hold it, you can see how much you were shaking?
Oh no. But I almost dropped my phone. And that's why he was just like, calm down. But it was one of those like the crowd, like it was probably like thousands of people down on the field, and there was just this one lady that kept getting everybody to come over and whatnot, and I couldn't get anybody. And all I really wanted was a Tech picture. I didn't really like Cora was cool. Everybody else that I got a picture with, it was cool, but Tech was the guy that I wanted to get a picture with, and I didn't think he was going to come over, and then he did, and I was just like, oh. I don't get starstruck like that. I was like, I've met people before, I've met people that I've liked like that, but for some reason, I was
one guy though.
I was just super nervous, and I was like, he's really taking a picture with me. And then I got to meet him at the winter weekend, and I was just like, shit-eating grin face from ear to ear.
Yeah, now you're just bragging.
Yeah, I met Jason Veritek twice. Yeah, okay, bud. Yeah, keep flexing, Chief.
Who's the player that Ryan that you've met that you were like, holy crap, I'm standing next to X?
I've been lucky enough. I mean, I've played for a third of the league at this point, so I've got some pretty cool autographs on jerseys. I got a Ricky Henderson. I got a Cal. I got a Hank Aaron when I was with the Braves.
Nice.
I got Jeter and Mariano from the Yankees.
I'm sorry.
Shut up. They're great.
That's awesome.
I think the most starstruck I've been was probably when I was working out at Equinox when I used to live in California, and The Rock was there.
Oh,
that's awesome.
DJ, good old DJ.
Is he that big? Really? Like, is it like,
yes, whoa? Yes. And he's got his head. This was before he built his own gym. He's got the Iron Paradise. He's lifting. He's doing calf raises with like 1,600 pounds or something ridiculous.
Oh my god.
And he's making the man noise, the caveman, grunting. And then as soon as the weight goes down and explodes on the ground and there's a hole in the floor, 1,000 megawatt smile. I mean, this guy is incredible.
I can't imagine eating as much as that guy. He has like 15 meals a day.
Hey Ryan, I got a quick
maintain.
question. I got a quick question for you, because there's always that meme about Ricky Henderson. Does he actually talk in the third person?
Sometimes. So does Reggie Jackson, though.
I wish I had the confidence to talk about myself in the third person.
Okay, so Ricky Henderson, I'm sitting at breakfast with him in spring training. We've already talked 2 or 3 times about how I'm the slowest player in the league. I'm like, Ricky, you got to teach me how to steal one base. I just got to steal one. And he just says, just go. I'm like, Ricky, I'm not you. I can't just go. Like, if I get thrown out, it's like a problem. I'll be released immediately for stupidity. And he's like, no, you just got to go. How are you going to get a bag if you don't just go?
Yeah. That's,
Pretty
I
good.
mean,
Nice and
How many
simple.
stolen, how many stolen bases have you had in your major league career?
In my major league career, 0. In my minor league career, 5 in 14 years.
Nah, you'll get there eventually.
nice. It's coming. Speed's coming. What jersey that you've worn do you like you're like, this is like the best looking jersey on you? Doesn't mean it's your favorite organization. Or
Don't
anything
say
like
the
that.
Red Sox just because you're on a Red Sox podcast.
No.
Which one when you slipped it on were you like,
But
The
don't say
Oakland
the
A's,
Yankees either.
the Oakland A's gold jerseys were pretty cool.
Okay.
Those are clean. Those are some clean jerseys.
Those ones or the Pirates black jerseys.
yeah,
Okay.
yep. I like that.
Fair enough.
2013, that's a much happier year, right?
Yes.
So what stands out from your memory from that season?
The first day I showed up to spring training where there were other players there, I met Johnny Gomes, who I had never met before this. And I'm introducing myself to Johnny Gomes. Say, hey, Johnny, what's going on? He goes, oh, nothing. Just one day closer to the fucking World Series parade.
That is so awesome.
He set the tone right away.
Gomes was probably I got to meet him for the appreciation weekend too. My very first game, met him and Dempster, and had no idea who either one of them were. My friends and I, we went to this game. It was all of our first game ever. They're like, "Oh, who's this person?" I'm like, "I don't know. I want to see Petey. I want to
What
see."
a flex.
Yeah, and
These
then I
clowns.
took a picture with Dipster and Gomes, and I'm just like, cool, thanks, guys. I have no idea who you are. And then, like, a week later, it's like, oh, shit, that was this guy. And Gomes punting the fucking beer cans and shit.
I did that with Clayton Kershaw on accident. I
really?
was at a Dodger game. I don't remember what year it was. So give me a little leeway here. I was either in the minor leagues and went to a Dodger game when I was home when the minor league season was over and the big league season was still happening. But it was his rookie year and I had never heard of him. And I was hoping to see like a Dodger guy that I knew from growing up, like Oral Hershiser or someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like my arrows might be off, but I just remember not knowing who he was. And my dad's like, he's supposed to be like the next guy. And then now he's Clayton Kershaw.
Back in 2008.
So Johnny Gomes kind of set the tone like from the beginning. That
Yeah, I was always the guy of like, don't jinx it, don't talk about it. And Johnny Gomes was like, no, we're going to talk about it so much that it's going to be a reality, and we're going to make it happen.
Like the manifesting into the universe method.
Yeah.
That's so awesome to hear.
So
I remember that year also. I think we were in first place like basically the whole year from a certain point. And you know how at Fenway Park they have the handheld scoreboard. All the way to the left, it's the divisional standings.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you don't need to move ours anymore. You know what? Just take that off and paint ours on the wall because we're not losing first place the whole year.
That's great.
Let's
This is
go.
so awesome. Oh my
Let's
god.
go.
Who's had the filthiest stuff you've ever caught? That
Bobby
you were
Jenks.
like, oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Clay Buchholz could make the ball go any direction he wanted to also. He was pretty impressive. The two of them could manipulate a baseball in the air. It's crazy.
Now, John Farrell, from a fan's perspective, it seems like Francona, the way you describe him is kind of like what I would, expect. Farrell looks like a quiet, confident, kind of guy. Was it like a huge discrepancy just between the way that Francona would manage versus Farrell, or?
Everyone has their own style. I think that's the difference between why some managers have different successes with different groups of players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer. You've heard of the golden rule. I'm a big believer in the platinum rule, where don't treat people the way you would want to be treated. Treat people the way that they want to be treated. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes. And you shake your head like, yeah, it makes so much sense, but no one ever thinks about it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
John Farrell, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he did a great job. I mean, he took us to a World Series, right? You can't argue with that.
Right.
The one thing that I wish I would have experienced personally from John Farrell was some of those conversations when I was the 25th man on the roster, where Terry Francona or Buck Showalter made me feel, very valued, a very valuable member of the team. And I'm sure I was valued still at the time, but Terry Francona went out of his way to make sure I knew.
Yeah, no, he seems like that, authentic. If you don't mind, Ryan, I'm going to share you a really quick Francona story. I lost my father 2 years ago. The biggest Red Sox fan I've ever met in my life. Thanks, man. He would love right now you and I talking. He loved you when you crushed it in your debut. He was like, "This is the guy!" Like right away. So Francona, he wrote a letter to and said, "Hey, could you sign a bat?" My father bought a bat signed by every member of the 04 team, but he wanted some of the guys to sign it like Francona, who weren't a player, but were so important. And writes the letter and goes downstairs one day to get something. And when he comes back up, he sees his cell phone and it was a missed call. And he listens to the voicemail and it's Terry Francona. And he says, "Hey, John, Terry Francona here. Got your letter. Love to sign the bat. Just reach out to me. And, this is the clubhouse number. Just, give a call back." It was during a rain delay. And so my dad's like, "Whoa, I can't believe what, like what?" And he calls back the number, and whoever picks up the clubhouse, he tries to tell the story and say, "Hey, I just missed it, whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, right. How'd you get this number?" Click. And he tried a few times and never could get it. Now he eventually meets Francona years later at an autograph signing, tells Tito the story. And, Francona could have been nicer, but my father, he didn't like, the voicemail was so funny because it upset him, but it was also Francona. So it was really cool as a Red Sox fan. But it's the phone calls that you miss sometimes.
That's a great story.
Yeah, no, it's cool stuff. World Baseball Classic. Can you tell me about your experience playing for Team Israel?
Oh my God, that tournament reinvigorated my love for baseball. That tournament, it just so happened to line up at a point in my life where the year before, after 5 years of Major League time, I had got sent back down to Double-A with the Blue Jays at the time. I had got no Major League service time the year before in 2016, playing poorly, kind of falling out of love with the game. And then Team Israel comes along. And first of all, I played great, which always helps. But being on the team with that group of guys, we had they called us the Jamaican bobsled team of baseball. They called us has-beens, wannabes, and never worse.
Wow.
And it was a bunch of guys on the team that felt like maybe we hadn't got the chance, or maybe we hadn't taken advantage of the chance when we got it. Guys like Cody Decker, who has to be top 10 in minor league home runs and has 11 big league at-bats and no hits. Guys like Josh Zeid, who could throw 98 miles per hour and, got a cup of coffee in the big leagues, or Nate Fryman that got a cup of coffee. Ike Davis, who was a big star, but was kind of on the downswing. It was just such a group, and we had kind of a collective chip on our shoulder, and we really bonded around the fact that people were counting us out, but we thought we were better than the world thought we were. And in addition to that, they took us to Israel for the first time, and all of us had we were Jewish-ish, You know what I mean? It was we were baseball players, and we didn't really have a huge connection to our spirituality. And the trip to Israel, this is exactly the story I tell, to a different audience in my children's book. It was this awakening inside of all of us, and the support that we received from the global Jewish community. It was just this huge, all these things coming together all at once to become a Cinderella story and shock the world. Man, I would play in the WBC until I can't lift a baseball anymore.
That's great.
Man, that's
Who's the
so cool.
Who's the manager?
Jerry Weinstein managed that team.
Okay. And now the World Baseball Classic, it's been held up because of COVID. Do you know, is there anything set, firmly when the next one might be?
It's supposed to be next year.
I'd love it.
Fingers crossed.
I hope I'm there.
Dude, you know who I'll be rooting for.
I hope I'm there, and then I hope in the next one, when I'm old, I get to coach it. I want to keep coming back for this thing.
I would make a great bench coach. I just have to put it out there. Like,
that's the first hat that's in the ring.
Yeah. I just want you just file it. You don't have to. Yeah, just file it.
Paint it on the board.
Yeah,
paint it on the board. It's not moving.
Yep. So you this upcoming season here, what are your off-season goals? Like, what are things that you're working on right now, to prepare for specifically for this upcoming season?
Yeah. So Tom Brady's book, TB12, a couple of years ago, it came out. I took that book really seriously because I'm about, how old is he? He's 44. So I'm 10 years behind him in age and in my career, where he starts to talk about, as you get a little older, you don't need the big strength, the big weightlifting muscles. You need, bands, you need Pilates, you need stretching, you need pliability. Those are my fitness goals, is staying healthy, staying flexible, staying pliable is the word that he uses. So I'm doing Pilates, I'm doing yoga, a lot of cardio. I did 2 Ironmans last year. So wow. I'm in really good cardio shape. And then,
but he can't steal a base.
No, I can run
the fuck up, Brad.
I can run 13 miles, but I'm not running 90 feet quicker than someone else. No, my goal is to stay healthy and hit the ball, right? That's what it comes down to. So
where do you have any off-season, workout partners, not just physical, but like baseball skills wise? Yeah, there's a group here in Denver. There's a group of guys, bunch of pitchers. Ty Block, who was an opening day starter for the Giants a couple of years ago. David Peterson from the Mets is here. Deck McGuire, who's got some time with the Cardinals. There's a core group. I catch pens for them. Every once in a while I get to get in the box. There's some minor league hitters. You get banging around a little bit. Nice. Who's the best friend that you've made in the game?
Big Poppy.
Josh Zide.
Josh Zide. And then that
from Team Israel. From Team Israel.
That's cool.
And that reliever, starter?
I think he started some and relieved. You know what? Actually, the first time I met him before we became really good friends, he said, "Your name is on my wall in my office," because I was his first major league strikeout. He's got to razz you about that all the time, right? Yeah. I don't know. I just looked it up the other day. I was looking at some career numbers. I'm doing some speeches coming up where I'm talking about leadership and overcoming adversity. Sorry. I've struck out 907 times in my career. So I told him, "You're not special." So you've played for a lot of different, major league managers. What has surprised you the most about I'm sure there's a ton of personalities, but what surprised you in terms of just, I'm sure everyone has like different approaches, but which one, kind of things that stand out that you're like, didn't expect that? First thing that comes to mind, when I played for Buck Showalter on the Orioles, he would come over to me. He'd be like, "Hey, if he gets a hit right here, do you think I should bunt?" I'd be like, "I don't know." He'd be like, "No, think about it." And he'd walk away and he'd come and, I'd see what he did, but he didn't really want my advice, right? He was getting me to think about the game and to think critically. And then he'd come over to me, the next day. Be like, you know how many teams in the league wear pinstripes? And then just walk away and then come back and be like, hey, how many teams have their logo on their socks? And walk like always talking about the game in some capacity and thinking about the game. It was, and you know what? I loved it. I loved that he was just had these funny questions or critical thinking questions. He was one of my favorites to play for.
Would you play in Japan if the
100%.
Yeah. Now, have you ever been?
World Baseball Classic.
Oh, it was hosted
Korea
there?
and Japan was where my pool was.
Huh.
So which one was more baseball crazed? Was it Korea or Japan?
Both. Korea was a pretty new stadium, the Seichuk Sky Dome. Beautiful facilities underneath with the gym and the locker rooms. And then in Tokyo, we played in the Tokyo Dome, which is not new, not as nice, but history there, crazy.
Right. So I want to actually bring it back to 2012. You got to be that guy.
Why? I'm gonna be that guy. Bro. Talk about 2013, you dick.
How was the experience playing under Bobby Valentine?
So when we were in Tokyo in the Tokyo Dome, see what I did there? so when we were in the Tokyo Dome, they had extra seats added down the lines with and they built new bleachers. And when we were warming up, we noticed every seat had a helmet and a glove on it.
That's
because
crazy.
If they were putting the people and the people wore the helmets and the gloves the whole game, make sure that they were safe.
That's cool. That's pretty.
No
cool.
no netting put up.
No netting.
Ignored that question quick.
They gave them all helmets. They didn't need a net.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd prefer the net over the helmet though, but
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool.
No, I mean it's definitely.
Well, Brady, maybe learn to think fast, you coward. Just
Watch the
simply-
game instead of your cell phone, Brady.
Yeah, simply duck.
That's true. Well, what kind of crazy stuff? I mean, are they throwing peanuts, at the games there, at the vendors, or is it totally different kind of stuff?
I didn't notice what the vendors were doing. What I did notice is all of the popular players there, they all have their own song. And everyone in the stadium knows it. And it's kind of like games in Latin America and Dominican and Venezuela, where there's a band with a drum line and brass instruments in the stands and cheerleaders over the dugout leading the chants. It's like a college football game, but for baseball.
That's cool.
What was your favorite stadium to play in?
I mean, you can't argue with Fenway and Wrigley. I love Camden Yards. Great place to hit. Cool background.
They just changed that. What was it? The left
The
center?
left field dimensions. Yeah.
They make it bigger or smaller?
I think they made it smaller.
In Camden?
They moved it back the
Oh,
left
they
field
did
wall
move it
back
back,
30
okay.
feet.
I was going to say, you couldn't move it in much more.
Yeah,
I mean, they could.
just making a bandbox, honestly.
Yeah, shortstop's also playing left field.
I mean, who was
Machado
it?
played right field.
Yeah, he played right field, basically. I don't know if you've seen that, but he
True
was on
positionless
right field.
baseball.
How do you feel about all these shifts? Are you a guy that's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or like Machado? It was one play this year. He legitimately was in shallow right as the third baseman.
I think the shifts are kind of like Pandora's box. Now that they've been opened, you can't ban them because some teams still don't shift, and I'll get a hit where I'm like, oh, that's an out, and then there's nobody there, and I'm like, God, you idiots! Why weren't you shifting?
You fool.
Yeah, it's something that it's definitely changed the game. It's definitely taken defense to the next level and made it harder for offenses. But how do you go back? How do we know that we could position players exactly where they're going to hit the ball and then just allow people to get these hits? Can't do it.
No.
So, are you for or against the pitching clock?
Oh, I hate it. They made that for guys like me. I take my time. I take a deep breath between pitches. I want to make sure I'm ready. And in AAA, when they have that clock, I haven't even taken my breath yet, and there's only 7 seconds. I'm like, where did the time go? I hate it.
How about robo umps?
Yes.
I'm all for having a consistent strike zone, but I think they need to redefine it, because I've seen some of the highlights of if a guy has a crazy breaking ball and it catches the bottom of the zone and bounces and they call it a strike. I don't know how you deal with pitches with that much movement.
Hogdale's for it. We're
Well, the thing
against
is, like,
it.
I see the argument though, like especially from a lot of catchers when they're like, it takes the art of framing out of the game. Like when, if you put a robot strike zone in. So like I could see like, I'd prefer if like the human umps could just simply be better at their jobs.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, but these umpires, and I hope these umpires are listening because I mean this, they're good. They're really good.
Oh yeah.
And you guys that have the people that are watching, I say you guys, people that are watching TV and have the benefit of laser targeting
Right.
and are judging these umpires that are watching 100-mile-per-hour pitches with movement, and they're missing by this much, and the umpire doesn't know what pitch is coming, and they've got a guy that is the best in the world at trying to trick them, the catcher. I think there's times where I'll be yelling at an umpire. I'll be like, that's a strike. And he's like, no, it's not. And I'll be like, oh, check. And I'll come back and tell you. And then the next inning I come back, I'm like, you were right.
Have you ever got thrown out of a game?
Not since I was 12.
Okay. So there you go.
Wow.
So while catching, you've never turned around. Do you usually just kind of.
I almost got kicked out one of the games in the World Baseball Classic. Actually, one of the warm-up games before the World Baseball Classic.
What did you do?
What'd you do?
I was, I had heard stories about American catchers that go over to Asia and they don't stand up for themselves right away, so they kind of get a bad zone. So I was like, I had that in the back of my mind. I'm like, I have to stand up for myself, and I was, getting on this umpire while I'm catching, and in a thick accent, he just said, "Careful." I was like, "Uh-oh."
He's about to like revert back to like the 90s where it's like if you gave any lip, like the zone's about to get real bad for you.
And it wasn't even a game that mattered. I think we were playing the Army men's league team or something as a warm-up game.
What's more fun, throwing out a base stealer running, trying to steal second, or throwing behind the batter and getting him sleeping at first base?
Throwing out a dude at second.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like getting a guy, throwing behind the batter, a trick play is one thing.
I love that play.
Yeah, a trick play is one thing. I want you to be giving me your best, and I want to get you still.
See, I love that. That's competitor's mindset.
Have you ever caught a game that Angel Hernandez was calling?
Oh yeah, Angel's one of the nicest guys around.
Oh, that makes
He's one of the nicest guys around.
That makes me feel
you know
bad.
what? He's got a pretty good zone, I think, too.
Oh,
It's easy, it's easy. It's easy to sit on the couch. The farther away you get from the game, the easier it looks, right? I'm not just saying this so that I get a better strike zone. I legitimately think these umpires are so good at their jobs. And didn't they try to replace them a few years back? And we saw how atrocious it got without them.
mm-hmm.
God, yeah, it reminds me of like the NFL when they had to replace some refs as well, where it's like, God, man, these backups, yikes.
Yeah, I hate the instant replay for the fact that if it's like an obvious mistake, like if everyone in the ballpark knows that it was just missed for whatever reason, that to me, that's why we should have instant replay. Like, what the pitcher years ago was Galarraga that had the no-hitter. Like, okay, that would be a good one. But if we're looking at a play 58 times over again and going, was it, wasn't, then the call in the field should stand.
Yeah, everyone wants them to get it right, but we don't want to be standing there for 30 minutes, right?
Speed up the game, but let's slow it down, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Bobby Manfred. Love that guy.
All right.
All right, Ryan. Does anybody else have any more questions for Mr. Lavarnway?
Nah, man. I just hope you have a great season next year, and know that you've got 3 diehard fans of yours right here.
Thank you, guys.
You've got 4 because Ed's going to be all over that.
Oh yeah, dude, you're total joy. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Actually, can I get you to say one thing?
Well, it depends what it is.
Just say hi to Ed.
Just
Ed, bro, where are you?
legendary.
That checks out.
That does check out. All right, man. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon. And was that Sapphire?
It was. Ryan, actually, do you have anything you want to plug? Like anything you want to plug before we end it?
I guess I'm doing speeches, leadership, overcoming adversity, and how I can help other people be their best or be the best versions of themselves. Other than that, check me out on Instagram, Lavarnway, or Twitter, Ryan Lavarnway, and keep up with all the things I got going on.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you so
well,
much, man.
Appreciate it, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I'll do it again
Thanks, man.
sometime, huh?
That'd be
hell
great.
yeah, man.
Thanks.
Anytime.
All right.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Pesky Report. Make sure to follow us on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Pesky Report. No matter what platform you're listening to us on, please make sure to leave us a review and a comment and let us know how we're doing. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.